Friends, thank you for watching my channel. I just want to remind you, if you need wallpaper, go to www.wallpaperboulevard.com. Tell them Spencer sent you. In fact, if you use my hashtag, Spencer Colgan is wallpaper, they'll be sure to give you a 10% off at your checkout. No matter how much you order, they have a wide selection of wallpaper. Check it out. Tell them I said hello. Hey, this is Spencer Colgan from Spencer Colgan is Wallpaper. So I'm doing some high-end commercial wall covering. But the question is always on my channel, do I need to prime? Do I need to size the walls? Usually people say, do I need to prime? So let me take you to the wall. We just took the wall covering down in this area. This area too, this area. And the walls were prepared by a pro. That's what's left. There's very little texture left over from the paste that remains. Very little. Now let's be practical. Look how smooth that is. And here it's a little bumpy, right? Now, question is, do I have to prime this? Well, what does priming do? Priming seals your wall surface in order to protect your wall surface for when the time comes to remove the wall covering. You see these dots here? That was the wall covering. It was transparent, I suppose, in that area because it had a nice little design and the light got through. And so when I removed the wallpaper, the sizing used on these walls did its job, kept the wall intact. So, do I need to size these walls? What is sizing? It's some form of glue. Why do I say that? Because the glue is going to lock down the wall surface. It's also thin. It's going to permeate through the top layer. Oh my goodness, this is so good. It's got a shell. I can't scratch this with my fingernail. But raw sheetrock, you know you can scratch. So, do I need to size? Do I need to prime this wall? Well, I'm going to tell you, the only thing we need to do to this wall is to take a pole sander and just get off the junk. Get off the junk that may be on the wall. That's it. This wall is essentially already sized. Okay? It's already sized. It has a layer of sizing on it. That was our backing. Now, we're putting commercial vinyl on top of it that has a texture. Are you going to go through the time and expense to do something unnecessary? You might, but you'll be doing something unnecessary. This is RX35 in here. It looks white, but it's actually something that dries completely clear. I'm just clearing out my bucket from the last job. I'm just clearing it out. Okay? So I decided, I said, you know, one of my helpers said, are you sizing this wall? And I said, you know what? That's a great video question. I said, of course not. But I said, I'm just, you know, I don't want to put this down the sink at the place I'm working. So no, you wouldn't be sizing these walls. What am I doing? I'm putting glue on top of glue. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, it's gonna stick. That's great, but it's already gonna stick. This was my wallpaper. Look how easily this stuff comes down when you size. Look at that. It's a pleasure to come in after a pro hung the last. Look at this. That's what you want, you know? So these walls are protected. Now, here's the problem. Let's say this is the condition of your wall, and you're hanging residential grade thin wallpaper. Do you want to hang it over this? I wouldn't. This is when you don't want to be hanging wallpaper on this. But we're not hanging wallpaper, we're hanging a wall covering, a vinyl wall covering. You see, this matters when you're hanging something that is too thin. And your wallpaper is going to want to go into these little areas, okay? So, how do you get rid of that? If you were to go from taking down vinyl to perhaps hanging up something thinner, well, you can water it down, wet it, and then take your scraper and it comes off. Let me see if I have, you would use a thicker one. You just scrape it off and then you'll get all the gunk on there. This discoloration, that's paste, that's dry paste. So, you want a quick trick? Here's what you do. Now, my good friends from the UK, they're two brothers. They have a channel. And here's what they do. I mean, these guys are workhorses. They really are. They would clean all of this off. They'd clean it off. But I wouldn't. Here's what I'd do. I would take my 9-inch sander, get off the rough spots. I would prime it with alcohol, bin, B-I-N, or oil-based primer, kills. Let it dry, and then fill in these little nooks and crannies with the thinnest layer of skim coat. What is skim coat? It's a bucket of plaster. This is topping compound, joint compound, ready mix, and in a half an hour, you'd have this whole thing skimmed out over your dry oil-based primer or alcohol primer. And then you have a raw skin of a veneer of plaster. After you do that, you can either paint. Spencer, I don't want paper, I hate paper. Paint it after you prime it. But if you do want to hang paper, as we originally spoke about when we're going to hang nice thin paper over this, then you get out your Pro 999 and you get in the corners up against, you use a brush, you cut it like paint, okay? And remember, this would be over your skim coat, your plaster, and you use the plaster to fill in those little nooks and crannies. Spencer, you telling me to leave the glue on the wall? Yes, 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 I am. Your sheetrock, which most of your houses have today, have dry glue on it. Why do I say that? Well, there's gypsum. You see the gypsum right there? That flaky stuff? That's gypsum. And it has multi-layers of paper on top of that sandwich that gypsum between this side and its opposite side. And that's how sheetrock is made. It's glue that keeps the paper on your sheetrock. It's like skin. Something's got to keep you plugged in, right? So you have glue there. Why can't you keep the glue on the wall? Don't be silly. Paint has glue. Joint compound has glue. Yes, you're going to leave it on. But you want to deactivate the glue by rendering inert its effects on the new surface, which is your primer, right? And your paint. So you render it inert by sealing it with something that will contain it. And the only thing that will contain a water-based paste that is dry is something that is not water-based. If you put water-based primer over dry glue, you will have gluey latex water-based paint on your hands that you will have to pay me to scrape off and get rid of it. So since the glue is water-based, we seal it with oil or alcohol. That dries, and then we put our joint compound over the nooks and crannies. When that dries, after you've had a cup of coffee, you come back and you seal it with this 999 Pro 999. Google it. Pro 999. Can you use something else? I wouldn't try to be Shield. You want something else? Shields Clear. SHIELDZ. Clear. You seal your plaster in. It's porous. Now, you will have done what the good fellow who did these walls did, and that is to seal the wall, or what we call the substrate. We call it locking down the substrate. Now, we hang our thin wallpaper, and the effects will be flat. You see, you don't want to put thin wallpaper over this, but you're going to put commercial on this. Commercial, you're not going to see that. That's flat for commercial wallpaper. Okay? And that's what we do. Thanks for watching my channel. Let me get back to work.